Hey guys, this is Crap Hunter, and welcome back to War Thunder! And today we are going to be having a bit of an instructional video, covering how to master the crew skills, and also how to, well, to learn and master the crew skills and the modifications. Now, in patch 1.141, First Impressions, I did roughly cover, modifications to the tank, but kind of meant I was focusing a little bit more on just saying there are tanks. I was really excited, I wanted to get through it, and I also missed out on crew skills, so I thought I'd make another video so that you guys can learn more about the intricacies and how this thing works and how better to play it, and maybe even learn some new things on the way. I know maybe there might be a number of videos telling you this as well, but you know, it's best to, if my one works for you, then brilliant. So anyway, without further ado, let's get started. So, here you are. You have started War Thunder. You've done the training simulation, so you know roughly what to do when it comes to shooting tanks, and it's really exciting, and you're like, oh, this is an amazing game. Right, calm, hold your horses, because I've got a bit of an advice for you, for mainly strictly new players. So if you've already played this before, you're a War Thunder Ground Forces closed beta tester, or beta, depending on which side of the globe you're from, you don't have to worry about this. But for the new players, or the people straight from World of Tanks, I would highly recommend you take the opportunity to test drive your vehicle. I was told this by a friend of mine who'd also been playing War Thunder Ground Forces to close beta test, and I, to be honest with you, think it's good enough advice for any new player to try, because the maneuverability of certain vehicles and the changes that it makes, specifically for World of Tanks players. For new players, I guess it's not so much because you haven't really gotten used to the stuff in World of Tanks, but for World of Tank players especially, the maneuverability of certain vehicles is so different to that of World of Tanks, and rather than risk it catching you out in the middle of combat, I would highly advise that you test it out in the test drive. So go to the vehicle, go to the options, go take your tanks for a test drive, and you can certainly get used to vehicles. You know, you get used to your vehicle before you have to put it under any kind of combat pressure. And to be honest with you, I would recommend you do that for a couple of other vehicles until you feel confident driving the vehicles. I mean, obviously, don't just do the test drive. Do like a test drive, go into combat afterwards. But, you know, when you get a new vehicle, because some vehicles, like, for example, transitioning from the Panzerkampf Ostiv C to, like, the Stug, in battles, it's a noticeable difference. The Stug drives differently to the Panzerkampf, and the Panzerkampf C Ostiv E drives differently to the Stug. So all these things combined can make a new player, can actually catch you out. I've been caught out when I was playing on the closed beta testing. I got killed a number of times simply because I got caught, because I just didn't realize the maneuverability factor of this vehicle. So I would highly recommend you have a little test drive of your vehicle, just so you can get used to the mobility sides of this. So now that you've had your first game, you've either won, brilliant, or you lost, which is okay. You know, this is your first game. It's nothing too it's nothing too important. But still, you know, you've played the game, you've gotten a few kills, and you've certainly done something to get enough experience to research a part or a modification. Now, for all you World of Tanks players out there, modifications and upgrades in War Thunder are quite different to that in World of Tanks. In World of Tanks, for those of you who don't play, you upgrade your tank with actual actual sections. So, for example, you would upgrade the gun, so you'd get a bigger gun for the tank, you'd get a better engine for the tank, you'd get better tracks, better radio, you know, all that stuff. My usual habit of tracks, turret, gun to upgrade. Whereas in War Thunder, you don't receive any mounting stuff. So, for example, you don't get a new gun for this tank, you don't get a new engine, you don't get a new, you don't get better, you know, you don't get a new set of tracks. You know, what you see is what you get. But when you go into the modifications, so for example, go onto this vehicle, which is completely new, you see this, and it can be quite confusing for someone who hasn't really played any War Thunder games at all. So what is the first thing that you should go for? Let's just see. Yeah, because you'll be starting out with that, which is tracks, which is good. It's important to have, but there is a section which of upgrades which you will undoubtedly need to research first. It's this one. Parts as you can see, as it says here, field repair, parts and tools. And if you are curious about whatever kind of part, you can just mouse over it and it'll give you a little description as to what it was. But most importantly for new players out there, parts and FPE, fire prevention equipment, or a fire extinguisher. So for World of Tanks players, minor repair kit, minor fire extinguisher. And these two parts are very important. While they don't save your tank completely, it can prevent early death, because in War Thunder Ground Forces, instead of just taking some hit point damage or a module being damaged, you actually have parts of your tank fail. Like, for example, if someone hits you and damages your horizontal drive on your turret, it means that you can't turn your turret left and right. So you can't react to someone if they're trying to flank you. On other parts, it may, for example, with fire extinguisher, you can be set on fire by a random shot to the rear of your tank, which can cause you to burn out. It's like, if you don't have a fire extinguisher, you're dead. Whereas a fire prevention equipment, you press a certain button and it instantly turns, it gets rid of the fire, and you have 2 uses of the FPE, which is better than World of Tanks, I can assure you. But yeah, these two features are very important because they prevent you from being completely crippled within your first shot. Unfortunately, however, this is where it kind of can suck. Out of reserve vehicles, the out of reserve for at least the Panzerkampfwagen 2 Ostiv C, you are not able to have this instantly given to you. I mean, if you spend money on it, like you can spend 60 gold eagles, which are, it's based, for those of you, if you're World of Tanks players, that's gold, that's credits. You can spend money getting some of these parts for free, getting some of these parts instantly, but it's a very expensive endeavor and it's not really. It's more cost effective just to research it. So for one game, you'll have to be completely, to the term, naked, without any kind of upgrades whatsoever. So if you do take damage, you will end up probably having to either get killed or abandon the tank, because you can't fix it, which is a real shame. But afterwards, once you have this, if certain parts of your vehicle go black, basically your horizontal drive gets knocked out, you can find a place to reverse, take cover, and start repairs, which is quite cool. Some vehicles, I mean, I won't go into everything because that'll just be boring, but I will let you know on the other some other vehicles. Some vehicles have the ability of this: artillery support, and it pretty much does what it says on the tin, because in War Thunder there are no scumbags. Well, there are scumbags of a different kind, but they are not the ones in SPGs. At least, you know, not in artillery at least. So for some vehicles, and it's not for all vehicles, and I'm not too sure how it works on the higher tier matches, but certainly for lower tier, many tanks have the ability to call in artillery support. Now, the artillery support isn't an overpowered thing. It doesn't guarantee a kill. You know, you can call it in on someone and it doesn't work. But what this does is it gives you an extra little boost of firepower against, say, a heavier armoured opponent. If someone's coming up along a ridge, I've always found it that calling it on a choke point where there are multiple tanks has given you great things. Even if you don't kill them, you can certainly do a lot of damage. And as you can see, it is a tier 4 upgrade, which means you will have to play this vehicle for some time before being able to have access to artillery support. So, you know, you can't just go from one to the other instantly. Unfortunately, the downside of this is that many light tank players will just spam artillery on you, which is a bit frustrating, to be honest with you, but at the same time, it's not the end of the world, as you can quite simply drive forward or drive back and be able to avoid it relatively easy. So, you know, it swings and roundabouts, and it's not the easiest thing to aim either. So, now that you've got a brief understanding for modifications, now let's have a look at crew skills. Now, crew skills in War Thunder acts a bit like an RPG thing. Whenever you're playing in War Thunder, either in a plane or a tank, and you basically just make someone's day go bad, either by killing them, shooting them down, or just spotting them for your allies to shoot at. You accumulate points, which then you can put into certain specific roles of your tank/aircraft. Now, for tanks, there are 2 skills. If you want to access your crew skills and see what level you are, simply go mouse over to your tank, go up towards crew, and click on it. Now, when you go into the crew section, you will see lots of tabs and lots of bars, and you'll be like, I don't know what to do. Don't worry, I'm here. There are two skills that you'll notice keep seeming to be mentioned throughout the entirety of your tank crew, and these are field repair and vitality. Now, this is one of my recommendations, so you don't have to follow it, but I found it has worked for me very well, so it may probably work for you very well. Increase your vitality on every crew member of your tank. Your radio operator, I don't know if he's going to be super useful at the moment. You may see something on your tank commander as well saying machine gunnery. Don't worry about that. That doesn't affect the cannon. It just affects machine guns, because apparently, by the looks of it, we may see infantry in War Thunder. Not entirely sure when, but don't worry about it now. But what is important is you upgrade your vitality, especially on your loader, your tank commander, and your gunner. Also on your driver as well, because you can actually have him knocked out. And even though your engine may not be damaged, you won't be able to drive. So it is immensely important that you put vitality at least a few points into it, so that way you can actually survive your first few shots of engagement in War Thunder. It's very important that you do so. Afterwards, once you've played and upgraded and gotten yourself the parts for modification, you may want to put, I would recommend you put points into field repair. This basically just speeds up the repair of your tank, and it helps you get out of a clutch spot in the middle of combat, because there's nothing worse than taking 30 seconds to repair and then all of a sudden someone says, artillery's coming in. You're like, ow, poo, and then you blow up. So to be able to get your tank repaired faster is a good idea to do as well. Now, I'm not going to bore you with the details of other, but I will mention two more skills which I would recommend, just so you guys, well, actually no, one skill I would recommend, because you might not know. Obviously you can guess with other ones. So one skill I would recommend you guys get, and this applies mainly to turreted vehicles, which is targeting. Targeting for your gunner basically just means that your gunner not only finds his targets faster, but it also allows him to turn his turret and also raise the gun up and down at the same time. If you don't have this skill, your gunner will have to take much longer to turn the turret, then he will choose whether to go up and down to it. So if you want to react to something a lot faster, put some points into targeting, and fingers crossed it should be alright. You should be able to react to an opponent a little faster than you would if you hadn't got it. So there you have it. Hope this video was educational, fun, and at least somewhat more informative than you would for another video. If you like this kind of content, do feel free to let me know by typing in the comment section down below, clicking on that like button, and of course subscribing to the channel. If you yourself are a YouTuber, a player of War Thunder, or a YouTuber who does War Thunder, feel free to let me know if there's any way I can improve my overall performance. If I don't commentate about something here, I ramble on about something over there, anything like that at all, feel free to let me know. Thank you very much for watching, guys. This is Crap Hunter signing out, and I'll catch you next time.